Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Somerville. I am your host, Michael Somerville. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and happy anniversary to me. This is our 1-year anniversary of Greetings from Somerville. We launched a year ago on Christmas Day with a few episodes that everyone has really enjoyed and actually have come to be some of our most listened to episodes. And I wanted to say thank you. No guest today, just me in the car doing a 1-year anniversary episode. So our first traveling episode, I was at a show in southern New Jersey at a Jewish performing arts or Jewish community center. And all the Jewish people have off tomorrow for the holiday, but they obviously don't celebrate, so they put together a nice event where it was called Laughs in Lo Mein, and they had two comedians, John Fish, who is Jewish, and me, who is not Jewish, perform. And John got up first and just ripped them all, and was super funny, but I was terrified, because then I said, I have to now follow this, and I'm a Gentile. But they were very nice to me. They laughed a lot. We had a good old time. So now I'm driving home. Don't worry, hands-free, no irresponsible driving going on here, but thought I would record my podcast from the road. And thank you all. When I launched this podcast a year ago, even in the description, I said I wanted it to be about interesting people from all parts of my life, because I travel so much. 300 days this year I was on the road, spent 65 days at home in my own bed, and it's a lot, obviously. It's certainly, well, I was going to say the road less traveled, but I guess it's the opposite of that. But I come across so many different kinds of people, from hotels and restaurants to airports, and I was always looking for a way to say this, gosh, there got to be a way to somehow bring this home, and to try to make a video on the road with people is too much production. But the podcast idea, I thought I could sit down with my phone, with my laptop, whatever I had on me, and hopefully get enough quiet surrounding us that we could put together an episode with someone. And that, interestingly, that has been the feedback from our listeners. I think a lot of people have enjoyed the entertainers that I've talked to. Are always fun, but a lot of people have enjoyed the people you don't expect to hear from, like the superintendent of my building in New York, or the guy who was doing the airplane refueling at the airport. I mean, there's neat people out there who do all sorts of things, and you don't necessarily hear them on a podcast. So it was fun to get them on. You can expect lots more of that in 2019. But I've had a good old time making them too, because I wanted to work on my interview skills, talk to some of my friends who I think are really kind of fun and up to interesting things, and share all of that with you guys. So I'm glad I was able to get to a year, and we're going to keep making them, and please keep giving us feedback. And on that note, why don't we answer some of your questions? Now, I didn't actually prepare any answers for these. I saw I had some questions, and I asked on social media for you guys to send me questions, and so I cut and pasted them all, but I didn't actually read them or prepare answers, because I wanted to give you just a raw response after reading them. So question number 1, what makes you laugh the hardest? Is it a situation you were in, a special joke, or a certain style of humor? What makes me laugh the hardest? A situation I was in, a special joke, or a certain style of humor? That's actually a great question. I never thought about that. But I will say, I think an organic situation where the humor just comes from a human behavior is nothing forced, a very natural, organic life moment that just is funny. And for example, it's Christmas Eve right now. I was visiting my parents today, and my dad was out, and he came home, and my mom said, "How was the traffic?" And my dad apparently just didn't hear her and said, "Tracking?" And she said, "Traffic." And he said, "Quacking?" And she just said, "Never mind." And to me, that's parents' humor. But I mean, I just posted that verbatim on social media, and everyone loved it, because you can't do any better than that. But life moments like that really make me laugh. Now, that's not to say that I don't love a good pun. Anyone who knows me or follows me on social media knows a good silly pun is one of my favorite things. I'm not above that. But But really anything then. I would say anything, any kind of smart humor. I work clean, and a lot of people say, oh, do you hate dirty comedy or, cursing? And the answer is absolutely not. A good, smart, well put together joke can be clean, can be dirty, can have language in it. If it's a good joke, that's to me really the measure of something. So just because I don't curse on stage, or I tend to talk about lighter topics, doesn't mean that I don't like all kinds of good comedy. So thank you for that question. It's a good one. Let's go to our next question and see what we got here. Would you rather live as a king in medieval times or make a guaranteed $60,000 a year in modern times? Well, that's another interesting question. Would I rather live as a king in medieval times or make a guaranteed 60 G's a year in modern times? Interesting that I'd say as a comedian, I live in modern times, but sometimes it feels like I live in medieval times. If you've ever seen the places we stay, some of the modes of transportations that we have to deal with, some of the meals we get served, I would argue that I live in modern times but have had a toe in medieval times. In fact, my own apartment in New York City, some of you know, I don't have a bathroom in my apartment. It's actually the bathroom's in the hallway. So you have to take a key, like you're at a gas station, and go down the hall, get dressed in the middle of the night, and go down the hall and open the bathroom door. The reason for that is the building was built in 1890, an old tenement building, and the law at the time was you only had to have one bathroom for every 2 apartments. So there's 2 bathrooms in the hallway, and there's 4 apartments on each floor. The front 2 apartments have since installed bathrooms, so I have my own bathroom. That's my claim to fame. Hey, it's just mine, no one else uses it, but I do have to get dressed and go down the hall in order to use it. So I took it over, the apartment, from my friend, and he swore, he was an actor friend, and he swore that if you have a woman over, they're gonna love it because they like privacy, and so they don't want to be in an apartment with a bathroom right there and you're nearby. They like being down the hall. I have since learned that is not the case at all. I have yet to meet a woman who enjoyed getting dressed in the middle of the night to walk down the hall to use the facilities. However, the way I used to couch it, though, if, say, my girlfriend was early in a relationship and she would come over and say, where's the bathroom? I would lie and say, there is no bathroom. You have to wait till the morning in order to go to the bathroom and then go downstairs to the deli. And they would panic. And then I would say, haha, just kidding. It's actually in the hallway. So then it was a relief. They say, oh, phew, you mean it's just in the hallway? Okay, well, that's much better. That used to be my little trick, my bait and switch. But I think to answer your question, I'm going to go king. Medieval times as a king. Because I've been a comedian. I've roughed it enough. And I think it'd be fun to go back and drink a little grog and, I don't know, wear those big old capes, or what are they? What do you call them? What do the kings wear? To have a throne and a lair? Is that a thing? Do they have lairs or castles? I'm not sure. But you know what? I've done the modern day thing. I'm going to go king. So thank you so much for the question. All right, next question up. Let us see what we have here. What love advice can you give to a single 38-year-old brewery assistant? Love advice to a 38-year-old brewery assistant, and I can tell you I know who this is from. It is a male, just for our listeners to know. We're talking about a man looking for a woman here, 38-year-old brewery assistant. Well, as you guys know, I think I've mentioned once or 7,000 times on this podcast that I was Jake, the Glamour magazine's dating advice columnist, and I gave advice to 2 million women a month, and then no woman I ever dated ever listened to a word I said or thought, so they weren't interested. But I will say this is a fun question because I am a guy who has been single and in relationships but never engaged and never married and got older doing that. And one of the things I loved about starting to get older, not that 38 is old by any means, but I got to know myself better. I got to know what I liked in somebody and what I didn't like and what was important to me in a relationship. And I think that was one of the real great things about getting older is you really start to figure out what you're looking for. Things I didn't know when I was 22 that are really important to me. And as important, if not more, is learning about yourself and who you are. I know I date somebody now, and I'll know 6 months in, I'm going to start doing this or acting like this or pushing back a little and feeling a certain way. I know my own habits, both good and bad, and I think that's actually a great thing to know about yourself, because you can squash some instincts. You say, look, I know I like this person, and I am gonna not let that part of me come out, because that hasn't worked out well in the past. But to meet somebody, I would say, I think you need to do exactly what you do. When you're 38 and you're working as a brewery assistant, you know yourself. You know what you like, you know your habits, you know your interests. And I would say the important thing is to pursue them. Make sure you're being an active person and doing things you like, whether it's hobbies, sports, weekend events, whatever you like to do, or going to a bar and trying great new beers. I think the important thing is to be active, because you can't go out looking for someone or saying, oh, am I going to just find a girlfriend tonight or meet someone online? But to be doing what you do actively in the world and what you enjoy will put you close to other people with the same interests. And that's a great place to start. So I would say not only be active, be out, don't be sitting home alone, but also be open to the idea of meeting friends. A lot of times we think, oh, I need a date, I need to meet someone, and rather than think that way, think about expanding your social circle, social world, and adding people to it. Friends, even men. If you're a guy and you're looking for a woman, doesn't mean you can't become friends with another guy, because that person knows people and they know 10 people, and so it just expands your social circle and makes the odds that much more that you're going to meet somebody you like, and again, you have things in common with. So good question, though. I hope that answers it's anything. I hope that's somewhat helpful. I don't know. Let me see. Next question. In terms of money, oh, I love this. Should I focus more on the lottery, sports betting, or other? I'm guessing you're being facetious, but I'm going to answer it seriously. First, I'll tell you my dad's answer. My dad's going to say, pay yourself first. 10% of your paycheck goes to you. Doesn't matter what you earn. It matters what you save is what matters. 401k, put away, save for tomorrow, rainy day, all that stuff. That's the smart advice from my dad. That's not fun advice, but that's probably the right advice. I'm going to give you the wrong, irresponsible advice. I'm going to say betting, sports betting and casino betting, because the lottery, we all know, is ridiculous, and that's a long shot. If you have fun playing it, go for it. I never even enjoyed it. I mean, a few times I have gotten a ticket. You just see the numbers, and you just were wrong in all of them, and that was it. And it's over. So I didn't find any joy in it, and I was never much of a sports bettor or a casino gambler. But I am a comedian, and we perform in casinos. And over time, I've been working in Vegas since 2003. You get bored during the day, and you wander down and you check out the tables and play a little blackjack. Well, I started with video poker. That was my first thing, which they call the crack cocaine at Gamblers Anonymous. Apparently, that's the most addictive game, is video poker. And if you've ever been to Vegas, they have the machines everywhere, not just casinos, but laundromats and supermarkets. In fact, Rodney Dangerfield used to do that really funny joke. He said, he was in Vegas, I went to do my laundry, it cost me $300. So anyway, but I love to play a little video poker, blackjack, little roulette, and then I also started dabbling in sports betting, which I have never been good at and still am not good at. My favorite thing there was the parlay bet, because if you're familiar with it, the sports betting, you make a straight bet, which just would be the Super Bowl, one team's favored by 3 points, and you just pick one side or the other and say who's going to win. That's a straight bet. But a parlay bet is you bet that multiple things are going to happen. So you bet on one team to win. You bet on also what has to happen is this number of points or more have to be scored. You could also bet a third bet that's also has to happen, maybe on a basketball game that same day, so that team has to win. And so parlay bet is just multiple things have to happen for you to win your bet, and it's very uncommon that you win. They're very hard to win. The more things, I think you can bet up to 15 different things have to happen for you to win, and the payout though gets bigger every time. If you bet 10 different things are going to happen, it multiplies what you win. You might bet $10, and if all 10 things happen, you might win $1,000 or something. It depends on how much the odds were. So anyway, I digress. But I've had a fun time in Vegas, losing my money playing those kinds of things. So I would say wisely don't bet a lot. But what I will say, and where I was going with all of this, is the one way to win in Vegas, obviously the odds are against you in the casino. The longer you play, the more you play, you're going to lose. Statistically, you cannot win. But I have won, and I've seen other people win, and even watched strangers win by placing the one big bet. And now, again, I'm going to say this is the worst advice I could ever give, and I'm not recommending it. I'm being silly, but there is some truth to it. If you play over time, you're just going to lose. But if you bet big once, you can win and then walk away. And I've actually done it. I've been playing blackjack and lost 6 or 7 hands in a row and just gotten mad and said, well, look, I lost 7 in a row. I'm absolutely due to win a big hand here, and I'll just bet everything on the next hand and win. And I go, oh. And in most cases, I actually just got my money back, but so I really didn't win. I stopped sweating and left with what I originally came in with. But I have seen people go in and put it all on black or all on red, or just one big hand, and sure enough, if they either double their money or they walk out with nothing, which is what they were going to probably do if they played the entire night anyway. I'm being funny. I'm not recommending you go to a casino and try to make any real money, but that's the most fun I've had, is just let's get a beer and let's go and see the red or black and see what happens. Anyway, terrible advice. Invest your money. Listen to my dad. He's the smart one, and he infuriatingly is always right with his life advice, and even though I never listened to it, and I learned to regret it. Okay, last question. Let's see. What awesomeness can we expect from you in the year to come? What a flattering question. What awesomeness can you expect? That is... Well, thank you first. That's from Joe, my buddy. What a nice question, and what a nice thing to say. A big year coming in 2019. Biggest thing out of the gates is going to be my brand new album, Not Model Hot. It's coming out in February. I am super proud of it. It's my 4th comedy album, and it's the first time. My first 3 albums were all albums that I made. I had just been doing comedy, and I felt like I had enough material to put on an album, so I made an album and released it. This 4th album, Not Model Hot, is actually, I sat down a little under 2 years ago and decided to write an album. I said, I'm going to sit down and actually make an album. So rather than just write material and eventually have enough for a new album, I said, I'm going to make a new album. And this is a real proud moment for me. I think it's funny. I hope you guys agree, but you can let me know in February when it comes out. I'll certainly be shouting it from the rooftops and telling everybody about it. So that's the big thing. But from there, you can expect more of the podcast. The response has been great. There's actually been a little interest from some other people or places to host it on certain sites. I can't say any more about that just yet, but it's been nice to know that some people have noticed it, and perhaps it'll get a little more of an audience, and maybe even go to video. That's one of the things I haven't done was do video. I know it's very popular these days to have the podcast on a video, and for me it was just, as I said, when I'm traveling, I love the ability to just hit record and wherever I was and tape somebody. So it's hard for me to think about doing video, because that kind of requires you to be home more, or at least in one place, or travel with a bunch of equipment and set it up and the whole thing. But point being, a lot of fun, exciting things on the horizon for 2019. Some less traditional media things, which I'll tell you about. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx them. Nothing's official yet, so you never know. But also more touring and more visiting cities that you guys like. Chicago, Illinois, the Zanies downtown in February, and then in March I'll be out at the Rosemont for Chicago. I'm going to be down in Florida. I'm going to hit a little more of the country, because I've been a little bit lazy crazy, and I've been going to Hawaii and Las Vegas and Los Angeles a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I realize I have to hit the other parts of the country. So a little more northeast in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I will let you guys all know about all those dates. But most important to you guys, I just want to say thank you for listening. Please tell your friends, just subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Happy anniversary to me. Happy New Year to you. We'll see you in 2019.